Hi crafters, this is Shirley Martin with Creating and Crafting. I'm sharing my love for paper along with that prayer. I've been asked why prayer, and it's really a simple story. It is just that while I create, I pray. I pray for my friends, my neighbors, my country. It's just a part of my creating. I hope you enjoy. Today, this is the cards that I wanted to make. And we're going to concentrate on this one, but I wanted to show you these other colors because it's very simple to change colors. You can do pinks, purples, greens, blues. The set is what makes it so universal. Let me show you the set that we have. To get out my catalog, it's right here. It's on page 108 is the full suite. And you can see, again, here's the whole suite price and all the things that you can get. You save 10% when you buy the stamp and the dies in a bundle. And here are the possibilities. And the paper is just gorgeous. Let me show you some of that. Okay. These are 12 by 12s, unlike the ocean ones. So they're large, and they're double-sided, just like our ocean set. Isn't that beautiful? They all have back sides that are just backgrounds that you can use. Isn't that beautiful? You can see I've used some of it. I tend to buy 2 of them because I know I'm going to use one up, and then I know I'm going to be sad, and so I want to make sure that I have it. I keep these in folders for their protection. I'll have a list of where you can get some of these folders at the very end, but there's the paper. Now, I didn't use the paper today, but the paper is gorgeous. Okay, so the first thing I do is I have cut a die out of a piece that was just a scrap piece of paper. And let me show you the die set. It's our layering squares, and there's several in them. Isn't that just wonderful? And there's the number. I always put a date on my magnet card so I know when I saw them, what their date is, because sometimes I lose that. And here's the dies that come in the set when you buy it in a bundle. Aren't they just beautiful? This is for when you stamp them and then you just want to cut out. You just want to cut out this. There's that. This is a right and a left, so you have that. Isn't that great? It's a good set. It's one that's versatile for all year long. It's one that you can use, you can make it Christmassy because you can use Christmas colors, and like these could be your berry reds. These could be your shaded spruce colors. But today we're going to concentrate on making a mask. Now I have a folder that I keep all my masks in. So when I make a mask, I just put it in my pocket and I keep them all. And I use them over and over and over. And when I find a good one, I tend to make several because, you know, after a while they wear out. Okay, here we go. So what I've done is you cut out 2 pieces of paper. This happens to be 3 3/4 by 5, 3 3/4 by 5. That tends to be what I like to use because I always put a border around it and make sure that I have plenty of space. So there's my border in that card, and this one that we're making today, I made sure that I had the other color. Okay, so I put this together I put it down and I tape it. This is Post-it note tape. You can get this in your local supply store where you find, books and things like that for paper. So I'm going to just, and then see, it comes up really easily and it doesn't tear your paper. Okay, and what the colors I am using for this particular card is Blackberry Bliss. Again, there'll be a list at the end. Cajun Craze. Oops. How about if I do Cajun Craze? And Cherry Cobbler. For the green card, if you liked this set, these are the colors that I used. I'll have a list, but there you go. Pretty Peacock, Just Jade, Pear Pizzazz, and you can't see that, but it's Soft Seafoam. Okay, I'll move this aside. This is taped down. See if I can put, this is what we're going to be making. And I'm using my sponge daubers. And I like to, sorry, getting my arm in here. I'm going to start with the corners. My corners are going to be that Blackberry Bliss. And I label all my sponge daubers because it's really easy to get mixed up when you have a dark and a dark. That's hard to tell. So always label them. And again, I just re-inked this, so this one's probably going to turn out darker just because I re-inked the pad. And I start in the corner because corners can be dark and it'll be okay. But I don't want it too dark in the middle of the page. So I start at opposite corners. And I want to go across the top. Sometimes the sponge comes off. Mine I need to probably replace them. And this is just sponging your background. So I've got enough dark. I don't want to get it too dark. And I wanted the orange kind of in the center. So what I'm going to do is take that Cajun Craze and I'm going to lightly go over my purple, which I should use the right terms. It's Blackberry Bliss. And you can see how I'm blending. I'm going right over that other color and I want to blend that really, really well. Now if we have time at the end of the video, I'll show you another way of blending. If we don't, I'll have to make another video. And then I'm going to use my cherry cobbler to finish up. Sometimes the newer ones want to stay popped closed. Okay. Doesn't that make it look like a rich autumn color? Oh, if you hear noise in the background, I'm doing laundry. I have the grandkids at home. They just got off a Zoom conference. I told you, I live in a wild household. And I'm going to go over this edge just a little bit with my Blackberry Bliss because I want it to blend. I want this to blend really well. And then I'm going to stamp. So I know I have my cherry cobbler out. And I'm going to take my stamp. I'm going to hit my cherry cobbler, and I always test it out first. See how dark that is? It's going to need to be dark to to show up on this place. So there it is. And I think I want to do it twice, so I'm going to do it along here. And notice how I'm going off. I don't know if you can see that. See how I've gone off? That's why we need the tape. I'm running out of room on my desk. You can't see this, but I have a lot of mess on my desk. I use this to clean, and though it looks really crummy, I've been using it for years. It's something that Stampin' Up! Has, and I'll put it on the list. It's great for cleaning. Look how clean that came. Just with water. Isn't that great? Okay. Now we're going to go with the purple. And if this moves a little bit and makes it a little fuzzy, that's okay. It's supposed to be very eclectic looking, right? Just kind of artsy. Okay. Now I'm going to get our other stamp. And again, I'm going to test it. It's pretty dark because I re-inked it. Let me test it again. We'll see. Here it goes. And cleaning. Because if I don't clean it right away, you can get your elbow in it, you can get your other stamps in it, all kinds of things happen that aren't pretty. Okay. Here comes the revealing time. This is the fun time. Here we go. See? Now it did shift a little bit, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do anyway. And I'm going to put this over to the side so it doesn't get on my stuff, because we don't want ink all over it. Isn't that just gorgeous? There's a stamp in the set that has little tiny dots, and those dots make for like a splattering effect. See the splattering effect? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to splatter without having to use a paintbrush. And I don't want it really dark. I think I want it kind of light. So I'm going to stamp off. We call that, it's a 1 generation. And usually when you're doing art, you try to do 3s. See how I made a triangle? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's just a rule of thumb for decorating, for stamping, for art. You do odd numbers. If you do even numbers, you should have it really systematic. It should be exact, and that's always hard to do. Okay, remember on the last video I told you that I got my stamping, my new die machine from Stampin' Up? Well, it came. I want you to see the new machine, because I was so excited, and you heard me get all excited. So here it comes. Let me turn my camera sideways so I think you can see it better. Is that better? I don't know that that's better, but I'm trying. Okay. Here's my paper, and getting out my dies. So what I found with this new die cut machine from Stampin' Up! Is that it's very smooth. I like the smoothness in how it die cuts. It makes a huge difference. The other thing I'm going to show you when we get done die cutting is how it puts away. Okay, so I've got my sandwich going. Here's my, see if I can fit this in with the camera. Lay this on top. crank it through. And voila, there it is. Watch. There they are, all die cut out. So I'll put my dies away, get out my little leaves. Okay, here's the fun part. The nice thing about this is too, I love the fact that it tells us when we're using a die, when we're using embossing folders. So it tells us exactly what numbers to use, and then these are numbered. So that's a very delightful, I don't have to think. And anytime I don't have to think, it goes well with me. The other thing, let me show you, is that this folds up like this, and this side, got really close. But see how they fold up? I'm going to get out my linen. This is a Stampin' Up! Linen thread, and I use it a lot because that color goes with everything, and it's very fall. I'm going to tie my bow. Okay, get my bow ready, and I'm going to use those cool little tweezers again because, like I said, they're great for small projects. So what I want to do is I will end up putting this in here, but I think I want to put the leaves on first. Actually, I think I'm going to wait. So I'm going to show you how to stamp your words. And when I use dies and when I'm cutting my paper, I have all kinds of leftovers. Let me show you some of the leftovers. There's leftovers. There's a leftover. I use them for, like, the words. Sometimes they're fat, sometimes they're not. You see that? Look at all the colors. So when I need to have a word, or when I need to stamp just a little something, I take it out of my stack. Don't throw things away. I'm going to show you how to cut this. I know that this, pretty sure this is 3/4 of an inch. Yes, this is 3/4 of an inch, and therefore I made the Blackberry Bliss an inch. But I don't quite have 3/4 of an inch. This is a little big. It's an inch, a little bit over. So what I need to do is cut it down. Sometimes when you're working with your cutter, it can be hard to get something. Let's see if I can get this in the shot. Let me adjust the camera. I'll come up a little bit. There you go. Okay, I'm going to put this on my 3/4 mark right here. I'm going to make sure it goes all the way down, but you can see I'm just cutting off a tiny bit. So I have a little post-it note, and I put it here to make sure that it stays. I have a stack of them. You can do that when you're die cutting. You can also do that when you're cutting. So here we go. I'm cutting. I want to make sure it's 3/4 of an inch. I can put my blade down and not worry about it moving my paper, and then I just simply cut. Now I'm keeping this little guy because sometimes I use them too. I have a little tiny hello, or I have a stamp set that has just little tiny words. Then I just keep this at the top of my cutter so that I can always have a couple. And that is how I get my 3/4 of an inch, and I make sure that it's straight. Okay, you're also going to need to know this. I'll leave it set there for a bit. so you can get numbers. But I'll have a list. So here's my stamp. And let me show you something. When you're putting your stamp on and you get the red rubber, you don't know that this is on perfect, right? You put these stickers on together, you're not sure. So this is what I do. Let me peel it up real carefully. I put my block on my grid and I make sure that it's lined up on the grid. And then I take something like the Y or the F, and I make sure that this is straight. So I line this line up with the grid underneath. Looks pretty straight, but I think I should test it out. We're going to test it. And when you stamp when you get your ink, don't push down really hard on it. See how I did? I got ink here, I got ink around the edge, and then you just have to clean that off, because you can stamp it, it'd be just fine if you have a light hand. If you have a heavy hand, let me show you what happens. You go like this. Can you see this? Let me move it up. Let me show you what happens. You go, move this down. Watch. Okay, well, it did do it. Because I'm just that good. No, what happens is you can get some of this edge around, and you don't want to do that. It's crooked. Good thing I have a long strip. It's because my camera was in the way. There we go. Okay. Cleaning. And I'm going to show you a really cool thing with this punch. It's a new punch that we've gotten. It's in our catalog. And it has, as you can see here on my top, it'll cut out a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and an inch. And I tend to label things just because it's easy for me to see. Unlock it, and that opens up our punch. And then I'm going to cut off my bad one. And when I have to cut something like this, I lean it over my grid paper. I make sure it's lined up straight, and then it's just a simple guide with my scissors. It helps it to be straight. Okay, throw that part away, and I'm going to get close to where I want my edge. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to get close to where I want it, because I don't want to cut off too much. I don't want there to be a big overhang. So here again, I'm going to cut on my line, and I flip it over first because my ink is so wet, because I had to re-ink it. See how I have I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of ink there. I could have smeared it. So I'm going to put this in. I'm going to turn this upside down, and I am going to make sure that that point is in the center of my strip. And I don't want to take too much off, because if I would have taken more off, it would have been too close, I think. So there's the first part. And I think I'm going to snip just a little bit off of here. I'm going to follow my line. Okay, so there's that part. Here, alright, is this long enough? Yes. But again, I'm going to get it pretty close, because I don't want I don't want to take too much off. That's not much off at all. I'm going to flip it over, put it in here. There we go. Where are you going? There it is. Okay. I've got it really up close in the camera, don't I? Make sure that I have those corners off. Come on. Am I out of it again? I've been going through this. That's good. It means I've been creating. These are nice because your finger doesn't get in the way and you can figure out your... There we go. I hear my Great Dane downstairs. He's hungry, and so he goes to his bowl and he starts licking his bowl. So as I'm stamping away, I can hear him licking his bowl. Now, it is nowhere near snack time or lunchtime. He already had some of my lunch. Okay, here we go. Oop, arm in the way. Sorry about that. Okay. Get my dimensionals. I'm going to use the large ones. And this time it looks like I am going to pop up the whole thing and not just the white. So I changed it a little bit. And that happens. As you're stamping away, you do one thing and then another, and that's okay. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is put my background on, because it just gives me a better field of vision when I go to do this. I'm laughing because last time I did this, I ran out of tape too, and I can feel it's starting to run out. Now when I'm putting this together, I like the top part. I like the one leaf coming off the top. So generally I like the lighter amount on top and the heavier on the bottom. I think that's just a rule of nature, right? Our bottoms are bigger than our tops. Not always. Okay, what I'm going to do here is line up my purple, which is Blackberry Bliss. And what I'm trying to do is cover up a lot of that orange because I only want a little bit peeping out. There we go. And here's I use the thick cardstock when I'm doing a base. We have two different weights. This is a lighter white. It's called Whisper White, and they're both Whisper White, but this is the thick, and I'll have it linked down below in the credits. And this is a lighter amount. So I do the lighter amounts for the thinner things that I'm going to mount, but when I do a base, I always do it in the thicker. It makes for a nicer card. If I'm going to spend this much time creating and praying for somebody, they're going to get a nice card. I'm not going to send out anything that's less than nice. Okay, I'm going to flip this because I don't want to get any of that ink on my nice cardstock. Here we go. We'll see how long this lasts. Good thing I have another one. And I'm going to put quite a bit on here just because I've mounted a little bit. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to make this in the center. You could leave it like this, but I felt that it needed just a little bit up in the corner, which is why I ended up with my leaves. And here they are. I'm bringing them back in. And you can put anything on the inside for your sentiment. one of the things I start with my leaves is I try to put the dark colors on the bottom. Let me show you. There. So I start with my dark colors. They're the ones that are going to be the most prominent. So I'm going to add. Really, I just smudged my own picture. What am I going to do? I'm going to put a leaf down there. That's what I'm going to have to do. See that? I'm going to have to put a leaf down there because I smudged it. You see the smudge? It's going right across there. I did that. And you'll find that you'll do things like this too. It's good to have this happen while I'm filming. There we go. Look at that. See? Cover up the problem. So when I have extras, I put them inside and I leave them in here so that I can use them. And it looks like I do have some red ones. So that's a little trick. You can always put extras in your case. It doesn't take up much room and you'll always have them. And I'm going to put a dark one on the outside because you've always got to, in my opinion, you're kind of framing it again, and you're framing it with the dark. You could put it here, like it kind of, but I think that looks better. I'm going to take my bow. I'm going to show you another trick. I take my bow and I'm going to put a dot of glue on it. Cut my tails. And while I'm wanting that to dry real quickly, I'm going to take an acrylic block and just put it on there. A couple of them. And that'll have it dry. And then on the inside, I just put my friend. And I stamped off one time and placed it on the inside. Well, I hope you enjoyed a trick or treat too. And enjoy your stamping.